Welcome to our YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about the Carl Nassib, first NFL player to come out gay. So before starting this video, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Carl Nassib made history by being the first active NFL player to come out as gay. In a video posted to his Instagram page on Monday, the 28-year-old defensive lineman for the Las Vegas Raiders came out. His club issued a statement in his support, signaling what many think would be a shift toward more acceptance and inclusion in professional sports, not just in the NFL, but across the board. Jim Buzinski, a co-founder of the sports news site Outsports, told NPR that Nassib's easygoing manner was important. There wasn't a well-coordinated public relations strategy. He simply appeared to be making a video for his friends in his backyard. As a result, I believe that gave it a lot of power. Nassib was not the first NFL player to come out, but he was the first to do so as an active player, and he has received support in a way that Michael Sam and others did not receive when they were similarly frank. In 2014, Sam made history by being the first openly homosexual player to be drafted by the NFL. On Twitter, he praised Nassib and commended him for embracing his truth, as well as donated $100,000 to the Trevor Project, a non-profit that supports LGBTQ youngsters. Carl Nassib is the first active NFL player to discern his sexuality. Sam was the 249th player selected out of 256 players by the St. Louis Rams in 2014. Sam's reaction to the news was filmed, as is customary, and the footage shows a distraught Sam kissing and hugging his boyfriend, clearly overtaken with emotion. But, as is the case with most things, being a trailblazer isn't easy. Sam is currently facing criticism, not just from the usual rabble-rousers who turn to the internet to spew venom, but also from a fellow football player. According to USA Today, Don Jones, then a safety for the Miami Dolphins, tweeted "awful" after Sam was drafted, which resulted in a fine, suspension from team activities, and obligatory sensitivity training. Sam had only come out a few months before the draft, a move that takes on even more significance when you consider that athletes are frequently questioned, and, presumably, graded, during the NFL Combine. While some questions may seem harmless, McDonald's or Burger King, one athlete was reportedly asked. More than one player has reported being asked improper sexuality questions. According to one insider, clubs were forthright about wanting to know Manti Te'o's sexual orientation before picking him in 2013. It's a culture that encourages silence, lest any deviation from heteronormativity be used to put your career on hold before it ever begins. Sam, on the other hand, wanted to be a light of optimism, as he said in an early interview. "I simply feel like because I was the first to come out, I might be a role model for other athletes who may or may not be gay." According to The Hollywood Reporter, he remarked, "I think I can be a beacon for those folks, a light, like, I can be comfortable in my own flesh and be like Michael Sam." Michael Sam was the NFL's first out gay athlete to be picked. Sam was released by the St. Louis Rams immediately after being drafted in 2014. In 2014, Michael Sam broke the pink ceiling. Sam received praise from the likes of then-President Barack Obama for his bravery, but the public praise did not convert into long-term professional success. The St. Louis Rams drafted him, but he did not make the final roster. It's difficult to say whether his decision to come out had an impact on his playing career. Some speculated that his sexuality caused him to be overly scrutinized, while others, like the Rams coach, blamed his fate entirely on his performance. However, those who have been there only in a sea of many can easily identify to this. Implicit bias might lie behind plausible deniability, leaving the person wondering, is it because Sam, at the very least, stated his position, that he should have made the squad, and that the coach was vague in his decision to remove him, preferring guys who outperformed him, according to CBS Sports. After the Rams, Sam spent a month on the Dallas Cowboys practice squad, but did not make the roster. He found a temporary home with the Montreal Alouettes in 2015, signing a 2-year contract, and became the first out, homosexual football player to play in the Canadian Football League. He announced his retirement from the game on Twitter a few months later, citing concerns about his mental health. While Sam's professional career was brief, he has established his place in history. Keith Ziegler, editor and co-founder of Outsports, told NPR that Sam had shattered prejudices and smashed the pink ceiling since getting drafted, which is no minor feat. Years after quitting from sport, David Kope came out as gay. After years of concealment, David Kope paved the door for others. Before Sam and Nassib, there was David Kopay, who had a successful football career, starting in 1964 and retiring in 1972 after playing for 5 different teams. He came out a few years later, in 1975, and told his story in The David Kopay Story, a best-selling autobiography. At the time, Kopay's actions were practically unheard of. Consider the following: only a few years before, in the summer of 1969, Stonewall had occurred. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association's Board of Directors voted to declassify homosexuality as a mental disease. And it was still permissible to discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation. Wisconsin, the first state to do so, didn't do so until 1982. According to a 1998 ESPN article, Kopay was blacklisted after coming out, and had little choice but to leave football behind, opting instead to work for his family's linoleum business. But he was a trailblazer, according to Outsports, who dubbed him the most significant gay athlete in contemporary history in 2019. In a 2005 interview with NPR, Kopay discussed the challenges of being a gay guy in the world of football. Being gay in solo sports is one thing, but being homosexual in team sports is a whole nother, he explained, because you kind of lose your identity in the team. That's why so many people say things like, well, homosexual people wouldn't fit in, because their identities are so dissimilar. Other gay football players have spoken out about the difficulties of being openly gay in such a hyper-masculine world. After retiring from the New England Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs, Ryan O'Callahan came out in 2017. He told out that his sexuality was all he would think about before coming out, and he was frightened of being outed. He struggled with addiction and considered suicide, while most others, presumably, were unaware of his problems. He told the magazine, "No one is going to assume the big football player is gay. That's why a football team is such an excellent hiding spot." In an interview with ESPN in 1998, Kopay said that being a very aggressive, strong ball player helped him acquire the respect of his teammates, and conceal his true sexual identity. Is there hope for a better future? When asked in 1998 if he felt it would be easier for sportsmen to come out, Kopay simply replied, "Yes, I do," and cited the example of a New Zealand rugby player, probably Ian Roberts, who was the first in his sport to do so openly. "If it's happened to a major star before, it can happen to you," he remarked. "Back when I published my book, I thought it would happen rather soon, but today I don't think it will happen for another generation. But I believe it will happen at some point. Eventually, it appears, though perhaps not right now." What do you think about this video? Do let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.